Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to Hail Yes, the Detroit Free Press podcast about University of Michigan athletics. I'm Tony Garcia, Michigan football and basketball writer for The Freet, although we are in officially the off-season. No football, no hoops, nothing going on for the first time in about 8 months, but that doesn't mean we don't still have plenty to talk about. Spring game was this weekend, of course, and I don't like talking to myself, which is why we have the fantastic editor, producer, soon-to-be husband. The countdown is almost over. I think it'll be, when this episode airs Wednesday morning, it will be what? Will be 78 hours out or some change. Math is not my strong suit. Andrew Burkle. It's real now. It's really real now.
Yeah, it is as real as it gets. You know, I was turned on ESPN yesterday. I saw the 73-hour countdown until the NFL draft. I was like, well, that's a bit much for the NFL draft, 73 hours. But when it's a wedding, 73 hours or, you know, give or take, whatever it is, feels appropriate because there's a lot of stuff to do. So I'm getting ready, but, you know, I think we're about 95% done with all the work, and now we're getting near the fun part. So I literally could not be more excited and can't wait to celebrate with you.
I can't wait to be there. And this is absolutely no slander, but this is so funny and just a little insight into the mindset of I think what it's like on wedding week. So I'm now engaged, right? My wedding is a year from late May, and we got all that going on. But I received a text message from your fiance earlier this week.
I knew you were going here.
Saying, "Hey Tony, I'm really sorry. We misspelled your fiance's name. Her name is Lexi. It's an unusual spelling, Lexie. Most people go Lexi. And she's like, and I just don't have the bandwidth to change it. Is that okay?" And I'm like, that is so fine. That is so fine. I was like, she gets it all the time. Like, it's no worries. But that's where we're at right now. Is that a good description?
We're in the nitpicking time. Yes, we are in the nitpicking time. And luckily we dodged some bullets because there was 2 misspellings. The other one was another former colleague of ours, Adam. His wife was spelled Marissa with 1 S, Marysa instead of SSA. We did double S. So as an editor, you know, someone who checks writing for a living, I do put it on myself for not catching those things. But hey, you know, like you said, there's only so much bandwidth in the world for wedding stuff when you got a full-time job to go with it. So
Adam Fisher's coming.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
All right. There's another throwback, another colleague.
Looking forward to seeing him.
Yeah, that'll be fun. It's been a while, man. All right, we don't need to go back into the guest list of Andrew's wedding, and that'll probably be for next episode, and we'll discuss what, if anything, we remember.
Yes,
from the afternoon. All right, but there's plenty that I remember from this past weekend, and that was the Michigan football spring game, or as I called it, Bryce Underwood throwing footballs in public day. Right? I mean, that is the reason that everybody, the 40 to 45,000 was the estimate from Michigan PR Dave Abloff. And I thought that was actually right around there. That was right where I was putting it, just head counting and trying to imagine if you push everybody together, like how much of these seats would be filled up. I mean, that was certainly the busiest spring game that I've been to of the last 3, or the most packed. And so there was a lot going on.
This team won a national championship, you know, what, 2 years ago? Yeah. So, and then this spring game is more busy. That just shows you, you know, we look at the numbers of this crap and it's like people are more interested in the trade the Pistons made in the offseason or the signing they made than the actual games itself, right? And sometimes it's the same thing. Like, this team won the national championship, but hey, Bryce Underwood could be the next national title winning quarterback, right? At Michigan. That's the hope. And that is sometimes what draws people in more. It's kind of like a fascinating, like, social experiment, isn't it?
There is nothing as fun as a shiny new toy. I mean, actually, that's not true. The day they won the national championship in the Rose Bowl, I mean, I will never, ever forget that 10-day stretch as long as I live. I mean, you were there in Pasadena, remember that, which was awesome.
Yep.
Just, I mean, like, that is the Mecca. Like, there is nothing that can quite compare to that fever pitch. But for an off season in April, I mean, I'm not like, it's not the same, but the interest is very high. I mean, for how different the situations are, like Michigan literally on the precipice of their first national title in a quarter century versus coming off an 8-5 season with a 17-year-old quarterback, you'd think that would be like this. It's kind of like this. Right? For those on the audio medium, my hands were held far apart and then they were held closer together. So
it's good radio.
So yep. So, but no, it was exciting and up and down day.
Yeah, for sure. So we kind of came up with the gimmick here because infamously now, programs are so scared of the transfer portal these games that used to all be on TV, well, most of them are either canceling the spring game or they're not putting them on TV. Well, Michigan found a kind of happy medium. It's a little wonky, but the game was played on Saturday and it will be aired on TV on Big Ten Network this upcoming weekend where, Tony and I will both be busy on the rewatch. I'm going to record it and watch it then. But long story short, I could not watch the game being an editor with a million other things going on. So I have not seen the game yet. So I'm going to ask Tony 3 questions that I would have wondered from someone who has not watched the game. Like I'm guessing anyone who wasn't at the stadium, wasn't part of the 45,000 people in attendance might be wondering. So first, we kind of spoiled it, but the biggest question, I was messaging you throughout the day. How was Bryce Underwood? How did he look? What did the arm look like? How did he play? All things Bryce Underwood. I'm just going to let you go because, that's what people are talking about, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And so everything in the context of the spring game, in my opinion, needs to be taken with a grain of salt. And that is because your entire team is split in half. You don't have the starting offensive line. You don't have your full complement of receivers. Your starting running back who was on the blue team, Justice Haynes, only played 1 quarter, right? And after that, it was Micah Kapana. And for the Mays team, it was Bryson Kudzol. And Michigan has since added 2 running backs so just so you know what they thought about the depth of the room. But overall, the numbers are not great. So the final numbers were 12 for 26, 187 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. Let's all be honest with ourselves. It was a 10-0 game with 20 seconds left. And if that were the real situation in the game, Michigan would just take a knee, take the win. No problem there. And you get out of there. Instead, against third stringers, fourth stringers, and people who, these are Sharon Moore's words, not mine, right? At the end of the game, they want to get people in the game who are not going to actually get to play in Michigan Stadium this year, right? They want everybody to get that opportunity. And that's what the end of the spring game was, except for the quarterbacks, because Michigan only had 2 healthy quarterbacks, Jaden Davis and Bryce Underwood. So Underwood is still in the game, right? And then you got a bunch of people who he's not going to play this year with. And then with 10 seconds left, final play of the game, a literal walk-off touchdown. It's a reverse flea flicker that he then throws to a wide open Jalen Hoffman who runs 88 yards down the field. So I think it's fair if we say that was a great play. That's awesome. That's cool. But let's probably set that aside for the actual assessment of the day. And before that, he was 11 for 25 for 99 yards and 1 interception. That does not sound good, right? That sounds just like the numbers we were looking at last year. Concern, not. I would pump the brakes, though, yet again, for everybody who's going to go back too far on the concern meter. I wrote it in both stories. This ball looks so different coming out of his hand. You hear that's what people say. It's true. It's true. It's like an actual rocket launcher. Now, it has to be honed. It did him no good when Channing Goodwin was, I think, 6 yards clear of the nearest defender on a streak right up the seam. And running into the end zone, all you got to do is put it on him. It went 2 yards out of bounds. The first deep ball of the game to Jamar Browder up the left sideline also took him out of bounds sideways. So one was out of bounds sideways, one was out of bounds long. He missed Logan Forbes on a 3rd and 15, long over the middle. I think he was 0 for 5 or 0 for 6 on deep shots. That said, there was one drop. There was at least one drop on a touchdown by Logan Forbes. There was another drop on an out route by Fred Moore. He was not getting to throw to Donovan McCulley, as I said. He did not have the normal offensive line in front of him. The first play of the game, he was sacked by Rayshon Benny, and I use air quotes around sacked because the quarterbacks were not live or they couldn't be contacted. And so it's really, I know that's kind of all over the place, but it was both. It left a bit to be desired in terms of the accuracy and those sorts of things. And you don't get any points for almost completions or for, wow, what a strong arm. That's not going to do it. However, that is the potential. That's what you're building on. And you would much rather a guy who can do those things and you just need to actually get it done versus, all due respect to someone like Alex Orji, who could not literally throw the ball downfield. He did not have a single completion more than 10 yards. And Bryce did. Bryce had a couple really nice back-to-back balls to Jaden Goodwin for 10 yards, 16 yards. This dude can make every single throw on the field. There was my favorite play of the day might have been an incompletion. Michigan, the Mays team looked like they were in a cover 2. Forgive me if I don't remember the receiver. It wasn't even, like I said, it wasn't even completed, so it's not really relevant who the receiver was. But the receiver is just going up the right sideline and just, that hole in the cover 2, just beyond the cornerback, and just outside the safety along the sideline. I mean, he just rips a throw right in the window, and it's just past the receiver's outstretched hands. But I'd like to think a McCulley maybe or Fred Moore, someone comes down with something like that. And so you see why there's excitement. I mean, it's the talent is undeniable. However, he's not going to just, as we saw, it's not just going to click like that, right? He's 17 years old. He threw 2 picks against Detroit Catholic Central in his last high school football game. There's going to be a learning curve, and it's going to take time. But as far as Bryce Underwood, I think I gave him a grade of a C+. It was a little better than passing, but all Michigan, I think I speak for the Michigan fans who say that you probably would have wanted to see it look a little better than that. But you understand why it didn't with all the caveats I gave.
Yeah, for sure. Well, when we were just talking before the show here, you said something interesting. You said everyone is wrong about Bryce Underwood and his spring performances. What did you mean by that?
Yeah. So what I mean by that is all the Ohio State, let's start with that side, the Ohio State and Michigan State trolls online who are, of course, going to have a field day when, with one of my tweets when I was just kind of logging what happened. It was a rough beginning for Bryce. He started 5 of 11, 39 yards. He had 2 delay of games. He had a ball batted for a near interception. He later threw a jump ball interception when he and the receiver were not on the same page. And of course, they're going to run with it. Oh, bust, $12 million. You're supposed to be better than blah, 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 all that nonsense, right? And that is way too far. Bryce is not a bust. Like, that's ridiculous. He is an unbelievable talent. Now, I also want to caution the people who already have their 2025, like they're trying to cash their 2025 Heisman tickets, right? They need to pump the brakes too. This is going to take some time. And I'll throw it back to you because you had a great idea to just to help contextualize this. Let's look back at the number 1 quarterback for each, the last 3-4 years and see where they are at in their career, right? Because none of them do it to an elite level year 1. Some didn't play year 1. Some barely played year 2. And now I think Bryce Underwood is technically the highest regarded of them all. So he is even better than some of these number 1 prospects, but still, Michigan is not the first program to think that their savior is coming in and then, that's maybe this didn't go quite as quickly as we thought.
Yeah. So we'll start, from last year, 2024. So Bryce Underwood, for reference, was a 99.9998 recruit, basically a perfect recruit, right? But it's not like these things are unheard of, right? Like in 2024, Julian Sayin was a 0.9966. What does that really mean, right? So Sayin he initially committed to Alabama, according to 24/7, then went to Ohio State. So he has not played yet. So he is slightly behind Underwood as a recruit, but didn't play as a freshman, and watched Will Howard, who, Michigan fans feel type of way about Will Howard, right? So he couldn't beat out Will Howard, right? It's just for context. Then we have Arch Manning, 99.9995. So still slightly behind Bryce Underwood, but it doesn't get more hyped up than Arch Manning. He's played sparingly over the last 2 years, still has never been a full-time starter, two full years into his career. And, he's a Manning. Doesn't come in more prepared than that. 2022, Cade Klubnik. Remember him? If you watch college football, Clemson, right? Still waiting on him to click, right? Hasn't worked quite yet. So I can go back to one more year, but I think the point being is that it's not, if it does happen for Underwood, and the year before that was Quinn Ewers.
Right? And he didn't even suit up for Ohio State.
He went to Ohio State, didn't play for Ohio State, then went to Texas and was like, okay, I kind of like what I see there. But still, it didn't happen right away. So, and he was actually higher than Underwood. He was 1.0000000. So he was the perfect recruit, according to 24/7. So it's just, I think we should be encouraging patience is why I want to do this exercise, because I'm not saying that Underwood's not going to go out there and rip it up, but it just, these things don't happen quickly usually, especially, he's not going to Alabama when Tua went there, right? Where Tua is like, okay, do you have an arm and 2 working legs? You're probably going to have, 4,000 or 3,000 passing yards. He's not walking into a situation like that. So I think patience should be encouraged is the point of the exercise, right?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And Cade Klubnik actually had a much better year this last year than we really gave him credit for. But let's show the development, right? 2022, his first year, 2 touchdowns, 3 picks. Then 2023, his second year, 19 touchdowns, 9 picks. Last year, as a junior, 36 touchdowns, 6 picks. right? So these guys are 5 stars for a reason, but you very rarely just go from high school to a level like the Big Ten. And that's in the ACC, which is nowhere near what the Big Ten is, right? I mean, coming into this league, this is the second best conference in America. It's going to take some time.
Yeah. The thing with Klubnik was that he didn't necessarily perform great in some of the biggest games. You know, he had 140 yards passing and no touchdowns, interception against Georgia, right? And I always thought that he was a little limiting to what their offense was. I mean, people like Klubnik, but I think that still a little dicey. You know,
the jury could be out, but I think there's only about 5 teams in America, or maybe 8, who wouldn't trade their quarterback for Cade Klubnik.
Probably true. Yeah, probably true. I mean, people still are debating about Drew Aller, right? Drew Aller, who, you know.
Oh, I'm out. Exactly. I'm out on Drew Aller. I am out of.
How many people would trade for Drew Aller? A lot. A lot of teams would take Drew Aller.
But it's all the teams that don't know what they're doing. Like, those are the teams. Like, Michigan would not bring. Actually, I'm not saying Michigan doesn't know what they're doing.
You're going to say Michigan knows what they're doing with quarterbacks?
Michigan does know what they're doing with quarterbacks.
After last year?
Well, that was a tough year, but I'm saying Drew Aller, Drew Aller could be like a J. I mean, he's not as good as JJ, but if it was old school Michigan, Drew Aller can hand the ball off and complete enough short passes. It's that he can't push the ball downfield. And if I think probably, you want to get to the second question? Because this is a good time.
Yeah, let's do it. Well, I'm sure the podcast universe will bring us back to Bryce Underwood in some shape or form. But my next question would be, what did the offense look like as a whole? Obviously, Underwood was a part of that, but did it look materially different? And what did you see from Davis?
It absolutely looked materially different. And Bryce Underwood is certainly part of this conversation. And that's why, I mean, I was about to just say it, but I figured we'd at least ask the question that we had set up. And this offense, it was kind of this was my post-game takeaway, is that this Michigan offense is different, right? I mean, for years, ever since I've been on the beat, right? And I'm about to enter year 4, right? So, I mean, they're starting to add up. And every year, every spring, it's always, oh, we're going to push the ball downfield. Oh, we got elite weapons. Oh, we're going to start passing. And then I'm always toying with weighing, like, do I write this because this is what they're saying? Or is this just a smokescreen? Are they saying things just because they need to say things and it sounds good? But when push comes to shove, JJ is going to hand the ball off 47 times, right? Like, this was different. I mean, I have not seen Michigan vertically attack down the field like this at all. Or even some of the underneath passes, right? They had some really nice designs to, like, Jalen Hoffman, who might not play much, but that's the Max Bredesen role, the fullback tight end hybrid. And just they had a 3rd and 8 and they ran some routes downfield. It just cleared out the underneath, a little dump down, 12 yards, move the sticks. I mean, that's all day. That's a thing of beauty. And so, but largely, even Jaden Davis on the Mays team was attacking downfield, and he had a rough day. There's just no way around it. 6 of 17, 75 yards, 2 picks. But the point is what they were attempting to do, right? And this looked materially different than anything I had seen, really than anything I've seen in the last 3 years. I mean, Bryce was ripping it. He was ripping it up the seam. He was ripping it on up the sideline. He was shooting, like, throwing deep balls. And then there's the 3rd and 11, and it was like maybe late 3rd, early 4th quarter. Pocket starts collapsing around him. He finds a little hole, leaks out to the left side, picks up 17 yards and moves the sticks. But and then we were talking afterwards. I was talking with, like, Jordan Marshall and Justice Haynes about what this could be. And Jordan was the one who was really outspoken because he was here last year, and he's like, oh my God, I cannot wait to not run into 10, 8, 9-man boxes and just have every single eye on me because everybody knows that the ball is coming my way. He's like, the goal is not for me and Justice to each run 20, 25 times. He's like, ideally, we're a little more limited. And then Samaj can eat, and McCully can eat, and whoever ends up being the 3rd wideout, whether it's a Fred Moore, whether it's an Andrew Marsh, Marlon Klein, who only, like, played 5 snaps. You know, they were protecting their guys, and they called this, quote, watered down. If this was Michigan's watered down attack, then I'm very curious to see what a watered up attack looks like.
Yeah, it's interesting because, you know, is Michigan just taking shots because there's literally nothing to lose in the spring game? Is there some of that, do you think? Or was this a little bit of what it's going to look like, or exactly what it's going to look like? Where do you think the barometer falls on that is kind of my question.
I think this was a statement. I think this is who Chip Lindsey wants to be. And I asked Sharon Moore about it after the game as well. Just like, hey, maybe you didn't quite connect on those deep balls like obviously you'd like, but that was more than we'd seen. And he goes, yeah, that's why we brought Chip here. Verbatim. I mean, verbatim, that's what he said. And this is going to be like, this is actually going to be a balanced attack, right? And hey, and this is not to slander how Michigan had done it in the past. They won a national championship. I mean, maybe a little slander is due to last year's offense because it was an atrocious offense. It was the worst passing.
Slander due.
I mean, slight.
No, that'd be a good podcast name. Slander due.
If anybody had said going into last year that Michigan was going to be dead last in passing in America and only ahead of Army, Navy, and Air Force, nobody would have accepted that. That's completely unacceptable. That's unacceptable for Purdue if you go 3-9. You have to at least have a functional offense, and they didn't, right? But again, this is not, Michigan won the national championship pounding the rock in 2023. They won 3 straight Big Ten titles, 40-3. You can win that way, but I think Sharon just did not want to be limited to it because what we did see in that era was if and when Michigan was having to play catch up, talking about the TCU game, talking about, even well before that, the Georgia game, you're dead and buried. Michigan was dead and buried as soon as they fell behind. And that kind of manifested last year, right? Even against Indiana, when their defense was lights out in the second half. Indiana might got like 5 yards, it felt like. But they just couldn't come back. They fell down to Oregon. They fell down to Texas. The only reason they held on against USC and Minnesota was because they went up 14-0. Then they got pounded for 3 quarters in those games, but they had built a lead, right? And so Sharon Moore did not want to have to only win one way. He wants to be able to, hey, if we're down 10 with 12 minutes left and we got the ball, we think we're going to drive, score, get a stop, then go score again. Right. So I think this offense, I think what people are going to see, people are not going to like when you watch it. It is a rough watch. The first half is a really rough watch. I'm just warning everybody right now, but you have to see the forest through the trees, right? It's watered down. I'm going to sound like a broken record. They're not showing the whole playbook. The teams are split up. Bryce has only been here a few months, right? They're still implementing the offense. There's a lot of reasons why this is not going to look like a well-oiled machine. Oftentimes, offenses don't fully click until mid-October, and we're in mid-April, right? So there's going to be 6 months of growth. And Sharon said, we haven't even fully implemented the offense, right? Like the next 2 months, we're going to go back. We're going to look at all the spring tape, what worked, what didn't, what we can run some variations on, how we can use leverage against defenses, how we can use situations and make sure we're not too regimented in, it's 2nd and 8, we got to pass, or, it's 1st and 10, we're going to hand it off just to make sure we get some yards. Like they want to be able to run or pass in either situation.
Well, it's like the Lions, right? Like it may sound counterintuitive, but you have to be aggressive in order to be conservative sometimes, right? You have to hit a few deep shots. Otherwise, no one respects your conservative ball control offense. In their heart of hearts, the Lions are a ball control run first offense, right? But they're also explosive as crap. They're going to hit usually at least 1, sometimes 2 big shots a game. And that totally flips the field and puts you in the driver's seat. And then once you're in the driver's seat, that's when you run it 15, 12 times in a row, right? Like Michigan's like, we're going to smash you in the mouth and this is our, foot to the pedal, run offense, right? You can't do that when you're losing. You have to hit a few of those big shots. So I think there's just a balance, right? It's always, I'm doing the thing with the hands again, like Tony did earlier, but it's like, you got to keep it balanced. You got to come up a little bit more, pass a little bit more deep so you can run it. And sometimes you have to run it a little bit more so you can pass it deep. That's why we love football, right? It's a constant game of adjusting to your opponents adjusting to you, then you adjusting back to your opponent's adjustments, and it lasts for 12 games until the postseason starts, right? So I think that's what we love about football.
Absolutely. And I think I'm like this year more than ever, I'm going to be watching like the opponent's safeties. How deep are their safeties? Are they 9 yards deep or are they 16 yards deep, right? And they are prepared to not let these deep shots go over the head. And I think Michigan feels like, if teams are going to dare them, they are going to take those shots. But you're totally right. You cannot, as we saw last year, you cannot have one without the other. They are part and parcel of one another. There's a symbiotic relationship.
Wow. Look at that.
Almost like we have a symbiotic relationship. How about it?
Yes. Finishing each other's thoughts. All right. Last question before we throw it to a quick break here. Biggest standouts. Obviously, people had their eyes on Bryce Underwood, but who were a few names when, people are watching the television copy on this weekend? Names, numbers to look out for.
I would say Justice Haynes. His time was limited. His touches were limited, but he caught Bryce's first positive pass of the day. I mean, it was a 4-yard check down, but it's just a safety valve. Nothing wrong with picking up 4 yards anyway. You can get them. And then probably the best actual play of the day, other than Bryson Kudzall, who kind of broke like a 35-yard run late. Haynes looked to be bottled up on what was supposed to be an inside run. And he just bounces it around the left tackle, and you just see, and there's just green grass, and he goes, and he picks up like 26 yards. And that was and it was right after that run, I think, maybe one or two plays later, where Bryce finally connected on a couple passes in a row. So it was 3rd and 2. Haynes ran for 26 yards around the outside, and then Bryce was called for delay of game, which was not great. But the next play, 10 yards to Channing Goodwin. Next play, 15 yards to Channing Goodwin. And so that is literally exactly what we're talking about, right? As soon as their team is ready for run, bang, bang, couple quick hitters. And another thing, last thing before we go to break. I mean, last year, if Michigan was throwing the ball 10 yards, it felt like, that felt like a deep shot. Like that felt like they were heaving it downfield. These 15-yard passes for Bryce Underwood in 10 yards look like handoffs. They look like everything underneath. Bryce was really pretty on the money. There was one ball in the second half that probably should have been picked. It was 3rd down. It was like 3rd and 6 at the 40-some yard line, and he just straight forced it into the middle. It was poor decision making, but he just ripped it so hard that whatever linebacker, whoever stepped in front of it, couldn't handle it. And so I one of my tweets, I think my main takeaway from the spring game, if I was trying to come up with one, and again, it's difficult, is that there are some pieces there this time to actually be a pretty decent offense. And Michigan does not need Bryce Underwood to be a hero. They need him to make good decisions. And if he just makes 95% good decisions, Michigan's offense is going to be night and day from last year.
Awesome recap there. So let's take it to a quick break here. We have an exciting, big picture question to answer after the break. We'll get to that after you guys hear a quick commercial. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for sticking with us here. If you made it this far, we wanted to give you guys a little bit of a treat, some big picture questions here. So it's what everyone wants to talk about in today's college football because of the format we've been given. 12-team playoff. Last year, obviously, Michigan came up quite a bit short, but with all the talent they had, it realistically was not that far away. A couple of things go their way, one way or the other. They could have easily been in that 12-team field. Playing in the Big Ten the way it is now, Michigan doesn't have to go that crazy like they did in 2023 to make this 12-team field. So I ask you, we'll run through the schedule in a second. Gut reaction. Can this Michigan team make it back to the college football playoff and to the 12-team playoff for the very first time?
I'm so glad when you said gut reaction, you said can and not do, because now I don't have to plant my flag and they will or they won't. But can they? 100% this Michigan football team can go to the college football playoff. The schedule sets up for it where if you can pick off an early big time win or two, you're really in good shape. And even if you don't, it lightens up later and you can go on a run and then you can kind of sort of backdoor your way into this thing. But Michigan's defense, I would expect to be, again, top 10 in the nation. This is a group that is not going to have the first round stars. There is no Mason Graham. There is no Kenneth Grant. There is no Will Johnson. But it looks more like the 2023 team on the defensive line, not with, yes, Mason and KG were part of those, but they were just sophomores. And actually, they were not full time. Like KG was not a full time starter, right? Like it would be, and sometimes Mason wasn't, right? Cam Good and Chris Jenkins were on the line, and then the other guys. They just had guys coming off a turnstile, and they call it the rally.
So much talent.
They call it. Jalen Harrell, Braden McGregor, and I mean, even Rayshon Benny, Derek Moore, TJ Guy. These were all part of the rotation. And a lot of those names, not the top names, but a lot of those names are still there. And Sharon Moore said, I think he was probably exaggerating a little bit. He said he's got like 10 guys on the D-line. I think it's maybe more like 8. But I mean, I'm looking at a guy like Dom Nichols, who I think is going to really surprise some people this year. This dude is for real. And then you got Benny, you got Eno Etta, you got TJ Guy, you got Derek Moore, you got Trey Pierce, you got Ike Awana, you got, I mean, on and on and on. It's just depth. It's just bodies. And there's a lot of it. And then you can do that at each level of this defense, right? I mean, we've kind of heard this for a few years, but Brian G. Marie called Jimmy Rolder the third starter at linebacker, along with Ernest Hausman and Jayshawn Barham. And now we have heard that for a while, but really all that's held Rolder back is injuries. I mean, and now that's not nothing. The best ability is availability. But coaches and Jimmy, when we spoke to him this spring, said this is the healthiest 5 months he has had maybe since he's been in Ann Arbor. I mean, it's just been one thing after another with him. And if you and Jaden Hood, who has been in the program, who, hand up, I would have thought he would have transferred by now, but good for him for sticking it out. And now you got a 4 deep at linebacker. And then in the secondary, you got the Metcalf brothers, and you got Jair Hill, you got Brandon Hillman, Shamari Earls. There's another name, true freshman. He will play. He will crack the field. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him like playing notable minutes at cornerback by October. I mean, he's legit. This one pass from Jaden Davis was probably Jaden Davis's best ball of the day to Peyton O'Leary down the right sideline. Perfect pass right to O'Leary's outstretched hands, and Shamari Earls. I mean, he was running step for step with him, hand up. It was just past his hands. It was just into O'Leary's. He dropped it, but it was just, other than the drop, I mean, it was just a perfect football play. Great coverage. Great ball, good route. He just didn't secure the catch, a relatively tough catch along the sideline, but Shamari was right there. And then, I mean, they get Rod Moore back, right? They get, I mean, Mason Curtis, who is, I mean, like a 6'5" safety. I mean, and I think I said the Metcalfs as well. And I mean, Jaden Mangum, who, I mean, he was a starter and a good player for Michigan State 2 years ago. They're trying to work him into the mix. And so, I mean, just think of all those names, right? And that's not anybody who could just pop, right? And so, I mean, this defense is deep. And when you got that and you have a more explosive offense, last but not least, Dominic Zavada, who for my money was the best kicker in the nation last year. But you need all 3 phases, and it kind of looks like Michigan's got it.
Yeah. I mean, just to, not to pour water under coals, but the offense is going to be the question, right? I mean, you're losing your 2 best offensive players from last year, Mullings and Loveland. Offensive line, I think, is probably going to be a bit of a about the same, right? Pretty about the same.
The team comes down to the offensive line.
Well, yeah, and the receiving core too. I mean, we've talked about Donovan McCulley before on this, I think, but I still think that the receiving group is going to have, just as an objective viewer, show me first some progress from that group after last year, right? It's not like they brought in Jeremiah Smith, right? And McCulley's a good player, but even Smith would have his work cut out with the receivers who were on Michigan's team last year if they were surrounding him, right? I mean, there was a lot of work to be made up from that receiving core, right? And so, is that offense going to have the explosibility? I don't even know if that's a word, but it's a football word that people use. So I think that's going to be the question, right? Is the offense going to be, people talk about in the NBA, right? Like offense wins the title nowadays, but can your defense at least be in the top half? Can Michigan's offense be in the top half of the Big Ten, right? It doesn't have to be the best offense in the Big Ten, but can it be respectable to pretty good? That's what they need to do.
I would expect it to be. And again, I mean, if you look back, even in everything's going to be compared to 2023, right? Like as it should be. That's the standard. You won it all. That's the team that you should be comparing things to. I mean, Roman Wilson is a very nice player, but I mean, I don't know that he's like some elite, unheard of weapon, right? Or that he is that much better. He is a very different style of player than Donovan McCulley. He's slot, 5'10", quick in and out. McCulley is 6'5", jump ball, big receiver, downfield, right? And then, I mean, Cornelius Johnson was the second leading receiver. I don't know that Cornelius Johnson is a star. I mean, he was a very good role player. He was a very solid player.
Cornelius Johnson would be the second best receiver on this team. Easily, right?
I think he would. I think he would be.
And he got drafted. there was he got drafted by the Chargers, so everyone was kind of pointing that out. But I think,
and there was Colston Loveland,
and there was Colston Loveland
as well.
I just think that this unit, and I'm not saying that, like you said, you can win in college football without having aforementioned Jeremiah Smith. You don't need to have Ohio State's offensive weapons to win in college football. Michigan beat Ohio State with those weapons last year, but it needs to be to a certain minimum level that I, quite frankly, am not convinced it's at quite yet.
They need to add another receiver in the portal.
But I think it's okay for me to have that mindset, or any Michigan fan to say, hey, you're going to have to show me wide receivers before next year, before I'm ready to, sing your praise and be ready to send this team to the playoffs, because that's what you're going to be looking at. And you have a freshman quarterback too, right? So those receivers almost have to be another step up to work with a freshman receiver or a freshman quarterback who is going to have almost certainly some growing pains at some point, right? They need to help him out rather than, maybe some situations, the quarterback's helping the receiver out, right? So when you combine those things, those are the question marks. But when you run through the schedule, I think Michigan still has a chance to, even if the offense isn't great, even if it's pretty good, they can still make the playoff because, first of all, they're Michigan. They're like Tom Izzo, Michigan State in March Madness. If you're close, you're getting the benefit of the doubt. Michigan's close. They're 9-3. They're probably getting the nod, right? So secondly, they're playing at Oklahoma, which sounds terrifying. They're not even in the way too early top 25 rankings. They're very much in a rebuild and probably, definitely further behind than Michigan, who also switched coaches, they're kind of starting a new administration. They're behind Michigan, right? So on its surface, it seems tough. It's still really, going into Oklahoma is never going to be easy, but that's not quite as tough as it was when it was probably first put in the schedule, right?
I don't know. I actually might. Yeah.
It sounds tougher than it is.
This was probably scheduled this has been scheduled forever, like 7-8 years.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Yes. Oklahoma has gone up and down but this is not I don't want to get this confused. This is not Oklahoma of last year. They brought in John Mateer from Washington State, who, for my money, was the best transfer quarterback available in the country. And then, oh goodness, I apologize. His name is escaping me. He just left Cal, the running back. I don't know if we can get a quick look up, but either way, the Cal running back who just transferred, who was tremendous, went to Oklahoma as well. And then even little wins like the 5-star David Stone, the defensive lineman who went into the portal for 48 hours, and now he's going back to Norman. So I mean, they got dudes. They got Jaden Knott. Yes. And I mean, Jaden Knott is a real weapon. And you need more than just a quarterback, just a running back, and just a defensive lineman. I can't act to be perfectly adept with Oklahoma's too deep or anything like that. But I mean, I'm expecting this to be college game day. I'm expecting this. I mean, this is Bryce Underwood's first start on the road. Let's pump the brakes. He hasn't been named the starter, but I think we all expect that he will be, right? I certainly
especially with Mikey Keene having the injury right now. That certainly does not help him have
that set him back. Yep,
the huge lead.
Yep. And so, I mean, it's just a really, really tough spot.
Okay, so you think it's more? I would say Michigan. I like their chances going into Norman, but you think it's more of a coin flip?
I would call that a coin flip.
Okay,
I would call that a coin.
Then
flip.
We have,
but if they win, well, I mean, they are in the fast track to the CFP if they win that game.
So let's just say they win for schedule purposes. Then you have to basically go 7-3 over the last 10 games, right? So you have Central Michigan at Nebraska, Wisconsin at USC, Washington at home, at Michigan State, Purdue, at Northwestern, at Maryland, Ohio State to finish things off. So basically you have to, that feels like 2 losses to me if you're playing well. If everything works out, right? 2 to 3 losses seems reasonable.
I have it somewhere between 2 and 4 losses on the season, and maybe I'm overcorrecting because last year I had them 9-3 and then they were 5-5, right? And then I was like, oh my God, look at me. I feel like a fool. So, I mean, at Oklahoma is not an easy game. At Lincoln in Nebraska with Raiola coming back and Matt Rule really implementing his style and his scheme. I really like what I've been hearing out of Lincoln this offseason. It just feels like, and go back and play my tape from last year, the year before. I have been a Nebraska hater. Like I was the last one and I never got on board. I'm like, look, I mean, it's kind of what I was trying to warn Michigan fans about this year. I'm like, I get he's great. You're not just going to come in and save the day. You can't just be an 18-year-old quarterback and resurrect the college football program in 1 year.
He was pretty good, all things considered.
He was great. He was. But what did Nebraska finish? 7-5 or something? I mean, they were a mid team. They were a mid team, and so, but now, I mean, it is not easy to play in Lincoln, and so I see that as a really tough game. Wisconsin at home. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm still trying to wrap my mind around the fact that Wisconsin throws the ball now and they don't just hammer it behind an offensive line that is 6'8", 310 across the board. But I mean, Wisconsin is just, even if it's just brand, never an easy game. And then at USC. And I think USC might have a little bit of a bad taste in their mouth from the way that game went down in Ann Arbor last year. I mean, they fell down 14-0, stormed back. They were up 24-20 with 2.5 minutes left. Michigan had the ball 3rd and 1 on its own 20 and handed it off because they could not pass. And then Kalel Mullings went full Marshawn Lynch, broke 5 tackles, rumbles for 63 yards, 6 of the next 7 plays. Mullings, incomplete, Mullings, 4th and goal touchdown, ball game. I mean, that was a grinded. If you're from our perspective, that's a grinded out win. That's how you want to phrase that one. But I mean, from the other side, I mean, it was just a disgusting loss, just a really bad loss, and so that's tough. And then Washington's not terrible at Michigan State. I mean, I think we all expect them to win that game, but just this last year, I mean, Michigan State was down by a touchdown, 4th and 5 on your 16 with 2 minutes left, and that's when they completely blew their chance to go up 14-0 or 10-0. Jonathan Kim, who is about to get drafted in the NFL, missed a 25-yard field goal. Otherwise, they would have been up 10-0. And it was that crazy play at the end of the half with the fumble that set up the field goal. Michigan went in up 9-7 at that half, and it felt like they should have been down like 14-6, right? And even still, it was a tough game. So rivalry games are tough. Purdue, I think you handle. At Northwestern, can't wait to see that game at Wrigley Field. That's going to be so sweet. And then at Maryland, trap game. I mean, that is a trap game. We've seen Maryland give Michigan fits the week before playing Ohio State. I mean, even in 2023, that was their closest game. It was like 30-24 or something, and you got to go back there. That's not easy. And then Ohio State at home. So parse this all out. These are not just auto wins other than maybe Purdue, Northwestern, I mean, New Mexico and CMU, of course. And then I guess maybe you could call Washington or Michigan State are very likely wins. But if Michigan goes 10-2, I'd be really impressed. I mean, like seriously impressed.
Yeah. Well, with the freshmen, I mean, it feels like one of those questions where really quickly we'll know if 10-2 is on the table. You know what I mean? If we watch them play New Mexico and then go in and beat Oklahoma, we'll know what's on it. We'll know, okay, let's recalibrate, right? But I think to say anything other than they could do it or they could go 7-5 again next year, if you can't admit to yourself that either one of those is a possibility, you're probably being a little impartial or, a little partial, I should say, because it feels like 7-5 and 9-3, 10-2 easily could both happen. And a lot of it has to just do with the new offense and Bryce Underwood and what that O-line looks like. And we just won't know until we see it.
If I'm Michigan, I think Michigan needs to add one more, like a left tackle, like a real left tackle. And I think you need another wide receiver. And if you do those two things, I'd feel really good about my chances rolling out the ball and seeing where things shake out. Especially this team got a handle on Wink Martindale's defense last year. And this defense could be, I said top 10. It'll be top 5. I don't know. Like I'm not really one to put a ceiling on Michigan's defense, but you just got to see who's going to step up and be the guy. But sometimes those best defenses don't have a guy, right? It's not like, oh, dude, we just need Kayvon Thibodeau to just get after the quarterback, right? Like just go make a play. Or like we need JT Tuimoloau to just wreak havoc, right? Just
Abdul Carter.
Yeah. Take your pick of the dominant edge. But just gang tackle everybody. And that was and last thought, and then I know we got to wrap. That's where they say Jayshawn Barham has grown the most. He's such an elite athlete. He's so used to just flying around the field and making plays. They really had to rein him in and just say, hey, you don't got to make all the plays. Make your plays. Funnel things to other people to let them make their plays, and then we're all going to eat. And I think we could see it sounds like you could see a big step from him too. And he is, he's a thumper. He's a thumper. So, they got the pieces. They got the pieces on that side of the ball for sure. And it's gonna be fun. The spring game got me pretty excited for the year.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, football is the best. We've said it a million times. I love fall, but I'm also really excited for the summer. So lots of fun times ahead. You know, it's just this time of the year is great because it's like my favorite. I'm so weird, but my favorite thing of like going on a vacation is when you show up to the airport and you land in the city you're going to, because you're like, I have the entire trip in front of me now. That's kind of how I feel when it comes to like May 1st. Maybe it's not the best time, like, you know, by rankings, but you just love it because there's so much fun times ahead of you with the summer and football season after that. So good vibes all around. Getting married this weekend. Can't complain. But Tony, any final parting thoughts here before we sign off?
No, I mean, I think you hit it the nail on the head, and especially for our entire viewing audience, right? I mean, this is a Michigan fan podcast. I imagine many are Detroit sports fans. How about this renaissance, right? I mean, the Pistons just won their first playoff game in 17 years. The Lions came up short. They were 15-2. The Lions have never won 15 games in the year. And the year before, they were inches away from the Super Bowl. The Tigers were a game away from the ALCS. Now they're in first place in the AL Central. And I'm going to say it right now. They're going to run away with this division. Just book it. They're going to run away with this division.
I totally agree. I agree.
And so, I mean, it's just like what a great time. What a time to be a Southeast Michigan sports fan. I mean, how about the hoops team? Michigan hoops. We've talked about, we're going to talk more. I mean, Namari Burnett. There we go. Sorry. There's the final thought. Namari Burnett coming back. That's a big deal. That's a really big deal. We don't got time to discuss it on this pod, but we'll get into it. Maybe we'll bring Dusty on sometime this offseason. And by maybe, I mean, I think I feel pretty confident we can make that work. So let me see what we can do. But good time, good vibes, and everybody send your love to Andrew and Jordan, his fiance, soon to be wife. It's going to be an epic weekend. So looking forward to it, bud.
Well, thanks, man. I can't wait. And thanks to our editor in chief, Nicole Avery Nichols, Bill Bradley, our sports editor, and of course, Robin Chan, the man who probably is screaming in his headphones right now because we're still recording at the 53-minute mark. So thank you, Robin, as always. And thank you to everyone who listened this far. We appreciate you, and lots more good content coming on the Michigan football front coming in the summer and fall months here.